studio in a way so that even with the distancing that we have between us, we can talk safely without causing each other any danger. So
For me, I will follow.
we think it's a good example you are setting
The old man,
by following the protocol.
president saying that I should wait.
Yes.
So I'll wait.
Yes.
Please.
I know, Prof. And yes, the world misses your wonderful face, but you are following the protocols, and we appreciate it. So thank you again for making the time to be with us. We always appreciate your presence with us. Prof, we've got a lot to talk about, but I think we'll start from what we were discussing with our audience just before you joined us. Schools are reopening. The president addressed the nation last night and talked about all the measures that have been put in place so that schools can reopen from the 15th of January. You own a school. You're an educationist. I'm sure you might even have been one of the people who advised the president. No. Okay. Either way, with your experience in the area, what are your thoughts on the reopening? So some Ghanaians are not comfortable.
First of all, I think that let me make a correction. My wife and I founded Ghana Christian International High School. We don't own it. So
Okay.
So don't come to me and look for money, because I'm the CEO and I'm paid salary. And apart from salary, if I take any peso from it, the GRA, which I chair, will come after me. So I'm not the owner, and my children will not inherit the school. It's an independent trust, which is so that's the first thing.
Thank you for that.
People still call me the owner, but it makes me feel big, so at least falsely. But first of all, I think that it is good that the president has lifted it. In fact, I was going to take this opportunity, if he didn't make any mention of it last Sunday, about the need for it. I think that our children, and I'm here to talk about our children, I'm not talking about you city dwellers, our children in Hiremwasi and Kukurubiti and other things, cannot sit home for another year without going back to school. So I think that is a good decision. It's a bold decision. But also, we must all know that it has got its risks, because I don't think that COVID is gone. And therefore, fortunately, children don't have too much of a problem, except that going to school and coming home with their parents. So they go among their peers and they come home among the adults. So everybody, when your children come from school and that things, you say you don't observe COVID in my village. They say that, I had it in Kranawo, it's in Accra, it's not here. It's a dangerous one. We must be very careful. Ghana Christian, for example, we are reopening. And even before this announcement, every teacher has been tested. Every student coming must have a certificate to that effect. And when they come, we will also make sure that they are tested. We are not allowing even any parent to enter the school.
It's a boarding school,
It's a boarding school. You don't enter the school. There's a place where you leave your children, and sanitized people will take them and settle them. So it is good for it to come, but I think that we must all be even much more, especially since the day students go in and come back. In effect, the borders are not too much of a danger. Not so much that they won't contract it, but when they do it, you can quarantine. You have already quarantined them. In the borders is the teachers that must be very careful, because they go out to the community and come.
And the day students as well.
And no school should allow the teachers, even the boarding school, to go and come without following strict protocols because of that interaction. So, but I think that is a good one, that the schools are open. The real private schools, those who are owned by those who founded it, must breathe a sigh of relief, because that's been a very hard. And I think that some of them will not recover. The loss and that things. So this is where probably they must be given some soft loans to be able to recover. But It's good news generally that education is coming back. But
How about the lower primary and the the much younger children? I mean, we've seen how even adults struggle with the protocols. Do you think we should be
That's
more
what I'm saying.
concerned about the
Well,
younger ones?
actually, this is my personal view. I wouldn't allow kindergartens to go to school yet. I think they were excluded.
Their parts.
Yes, but but parents don't want, these days. Parents don't want to look after their children, so they have been shouting and other things. But again, among the children, even if they infect each other, so far it is a divine grace. They survive.
Well, not all of them.
Yeah, general. I mean, it has been quite minimal, almost insignificant. But then they are going and coming to their parents. That's where the danger is. And that's where the adults still have the responsibility. Because your child will go to school and come back, you feel that, you just embrace them, do all those things, without you are at home. Now, your home is public. And that is what is needed. But I think that the danger is, for me, it's a risk worth taking.
But talking about it being a risk worth taking, Professor Adai, now you have children going to school in full, as in,
Yes.
Previously when SHS 3 had to go to school, they went to school in batches. I mean, they were not SHS 1 and 2, so all of them just could go there and socially distance. Same happened with JHS 3. Now you're asking from primary 1 to JHS 3 to go to school.
To university,
I mean,
actually.
how do we ensure social distancing, which is a key aspect of ensuring adherence to the safety protocols?
I'm not an expert, but from my layman medical point of view, there's no way you can do social distancing for the kids, the younger ones. No matter what you do. I just was with my grandchildren, two of them, only one is 2 years, and you can't control him. He just jumps everywhere else. And the worst part of it is that the Veronica bucket, which he's supposed to wash their hands, he will go and then dip his hands in
The actual bucket.
no, what the people have washed their hands in there.
Oh.
I mean, and then you have to quickly go and grab him. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that despite all that we say, you cannot do social distancing for a 2 to 6 year old.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah, but I remember speaking to you on Upfront last year, and one of the things you recommended was having probably a double or triple track if we wanted to reopen schools. Here we are with a situation where we've decided
That's what
to
I'm
go to
saying.
single
Yeah,
track. Shouldn't you be considering that? I mean,
no, that's
at
what
this
I was
point,
coming
yeah.
to. That
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that you cannot do social distancing among young people. Even, let me say that even a secondary school is a hard one, let alone that one. And I still stand by my view. That shows that I'm not in the policy making in this regard. I personally proposed that we should have gone to Sankofa, whereby you have the morning session and afternoon session.
Oh, yes. That's the old way of doing
Yeah,
things.
shift
Yes.
system.
Shift system, whereby a batch of children will go to the school from 8 to noon. 4 hours is sufficient for children to study. Have 1 hour break so that you can spray the place, do all the things. And then they will come at 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. For me, that would have been ideal. I also would have proposed that the double track should have been permanent. In fact, I would not even have, but there's a political pressure that when NDC comes, he will abolish double. But I would have recommended that the double track for the next 2 years. After all, the people who went on double track, they passed well, at least as well as those who went on single track, because they designed the double track in such a way that the number of contact hours was 10% higher than when it was not double track. And that for my school, we rather have gone on double track. So all of them, even the government has reopened it, only about 60% are coming, others are not coming. But of course, I must make a caveat in the sense that it is a middle class school. Everybody has a computer. In fact, we insist now that you can't come to our school here without having a Chrome computer, so they can stay at home. They have classes like anybody else. But I think that a double track would have been an ideal. But politicians have to take cognizance of the pressures from the other side, and parents, that most of the parents, despite everything else, are fed up with their children at home. And the pressure for them to let the children go back to school. Someone told us, and Grandy did it, they eat too much. so that's my position. And my the school, in the sense that it is called my school, is still we are keeping double track, even though we are a private school, for the sake, because I cannot, while the government may be able to risk it, we cannot risk.
But I wonder, though, I mean, since you've articulated your personal view on
Yes.
this, in light of that view, why do you still think the president is doing the right thing by sending everybody back to school?
No, I think the reopening of the school is what I said is the right thing.
Right.
With our children. What you are talking about, the modalities of reopening. And I say that my preference is this way.
Right.
But the race I can see, you have just come out of elections with a hung parliament, which will come to that, everything else. And one says that when I come, it's done, and that chance. Parents are saying that we are fed up. Politicians tend to have more variables than technicians. And we tend to be idealists. And in my case, too, in the school that I founded, we can afford. Of course, my village one, but fortunately, there are only 200 students. And we have facilities for them to be able to do so. Okay.
We spoke to a few people before you joined us, and many of them were teachers. They shared a lot of your concerns about the crowding, the overcrowding, but they also felt that teachers themselves, just by virtue of the fact that the entire society seems to have de-escalated the risk of COVID-19, even though it is still very real. Because of that, a lot of the teachers felt that their own colleagues, teachers in the public school system, are not ready to properly protect people's children, and ensure that the social distancing will be done, because the teachers were complaining that we tell them to socially distance and they say no. Some of them tell us COVID-19 is not real. A child coming from a home where they don't believe in COVID-19 comes to school, and you are going to make this child observe the protocols. Do you find that there might be some of these difficulties also?
In the public school, I can see it. Pardon me that normally I should have been listening to you on my way, but my niece is on serious admission, and I was arranging blood and that thing, so I didn't listen to you, so pardon me. But let me say that it's going to be a challenge. Even when there was a partial reopening of the second years going to school, in our school, there were some cases of COVID. Except that once again, we were able to bring in the local hospital. We have one of the best district hospitals, Dodowa. So therefore, it is again, by coincidence, we are well covered, and the district medical team were excellent. Just suspected 21 students were quarantined, looked after, and other things they were there. So I think that there is the reality. But in this case, my emphasis will be the teachers themselves protecting themselves. Because that is, to me, the greater danger, and the teacher who misbehaves small may find himself joining the X. So, no, I'm being serious. For example, all my about 120 or so, I can't know the number offhand, have all been tested COVID last week. In fact, in anticipation that it's likely to open, everybody and every student coming will have had to be tested before coming. But you can't do it with the 3,000 people, 4,000 at Achimota and other things. So we are in for it. We have to pray. They have roping without the double shift being imposed. And I think the teachers are the only ones who must protect themselves very highly. You will do all that you can, but I doubt whether we can have a foolproof for the children.
Yeah, which brings me quite nicely to the next thing on my mind. The president has actually gained global, acclaim for some of the decisions he's made in managing COVID-19 throughout.
I think he has generally been excellent.
Yes, well, he has gained global acclaim, and especially for some of the executive instruments he passed and the restrictions that he put in place. Where
except one, let me.
Except which one?
I think that he will beat me when but I think that the punishment they put in the law as to when people offend the protocols is just too draconian. You cannot do it. If you are going to charge somebody 10,000, the average Ghanaian annual salary, GDP per capita is $2,000. That's 10,000 cedis plus. Yeah. And then you go to prison for how long? That was a huge...
5 years or...
5 years.
Yeah. So I remember you talked about this.
Yes, if they had made it that if you don't wear your mask, you pay 500 Ghana cedis, which for the average Ghanaian is a huge one, or else you go into prison for 2 weeks. And then we had sent about 2,000 into prison. I believe that things will have changed. But you have made it 10,000 or 5 years imprisonment, which you cannot enforce because the number of people who are disobeying it will make it impossible for it. I think the new parliament should change it. And Ghanaians should see that if they don't obey the protocols, there's immediate consequence. And about on my way coming, I have put about 1,000 in for 2 weeks.
So Prof,
so that is the only thing that
it leads us nicely to what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Because in spite of the acclaim the president received for actually issuing the executive instruments, there hasn't been as much acclaim for the implementation of them or the enforcement of them. So, for example, beaches are still operating. Nightclubs are operating. Bars, places that are supposed to be shut down are operating. People are not wearing masks. There doesn't appear to be that muscle to enforce. So when we send kids to school, are we not just propounding the looseness?
Let us not beat the school. I think that the school is the least. These ones must be where the punishment must be there, the nightclubs, the beaches, and others. And I personally think that it's because Parliament passed this law so draconian that if you want to enforce it...
Was it Parliament or the executive?
Executive.
It was the executive instrument.
The executive instrument, It's so draconian that you then have to make every school and every public place a prison. Because the people in, what they call it, Jamestown, alone will fill all our prison. I mean, you haven't gone anywhere. You haven't reached Tershi or Choco, and I'm not picking them up. These are high density area or Nima, because
you're referring to them because of their population, not because they are violating.
No,
it's more than other places. Okay.
It's social distancing there is very difficult, and then also the income per head is lower and rotten. So I think that is. But that should not negate the fact that our children cannot stay at home forever. Right. They must go to school. But I want something done. The executive instrument punishment revised and people punished. And when they do, let me tell you, when they put you in prison for 1 week, you come back, you behave.
True. Well, I already behave. So let's talk about a few other things, Prof. We've just come through an election. Boy, what an election.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, so eventful. And the outcome, I mean, let's start from the results, the outcome. Parliament is unrecognizable. How did that strike you?
First of all, well, pardon my being religious, because I believe in Jesus Christ. God has shown himself to be sovereign, and I hope MPP and NDC all will recognize it, because I don't believe that anybody expected the results. The MPP people didn't expect to be that bad in terms of the NDC. I believe didn't believe that they will be that good in terms of the parliamentary seats at least. So this is a result, and I think Ghanaians must sit down and ask, why has God allowed this? Because, first of all, nobody expected a hung parliament in their lifetime, the politicians. I served on an IEA committee for us to do something about this winner take all. We sent a report the governments were giving, that was during Atamil's and Mohammed's time. It was almost like just thrown away, because they all believe that they will always be the president, will have majority in parliament and can do whatever they want. So don't come and spoil the soup. So our report is still lying there. And the report was done by Emil Short, myself, Palmer Bakla, I mean, people whose interest was Ghana first.
Yeah.
Now they are going to learn that one person alone now determines basically who becomes what they call it, speaker, almost all the committees, chairman and everything else. And I hope that it will send a good lesson. Secondly, I call them always the two tribes, MPP and NDC. They are the worst tribes in Ghana. I mean, people talk about, say, Evers, Ashantis. Have you ever, in history of Ghana, Evers and Ashantis have never gone into war? Never. Or anything at all. And yet, the politicians make them. They are the real tribe, which is the two political parties. Now, they will have to work together. Because I believe that if any of them decide to say that even I have one majority, I will do whatever without regard to you, there will be 2024. So I think that it was not anybody's expectation. But again, in most cases in Ghana, it's the government that loses, not the position that wins.
But Prof, talking about, the parliamentary elections, prior to the elections, the NDC's John Mahama in the north said they were going to win the parliamentary elections. They had actually stated it before the election. The NPP, and of course I'm not sure they're going to say this, but if you listen to President Akufo-Addo going around consistently, he was pleading with his party members
not skirt and blouse,
not to do a skirt and blouse. That also suggests to you that this is a party which, by its own investigations, are beginning to realize that it was going to be difficult for them.
Yes.
Because the NDC had talked about John Mahama, I think somewhere with Sanerugu or Savelugu, in the northern region, said the NDC will win parliamentary majority. And, it comes to pass. That suggests clearly that they knew.
Let me suggest, my view is this. I think that altogether, the NDC propaganda was better than the NPP. You see, and not necessarily positive for Ghana, but in terms of communication and other things. For example, Jean Mensa, from day one, they were actually piling up to try to paint her negative. I think that she's the best
EC chair we've ever
had in terms of competence, and that I don't want us to detract from that one. But I have counted on about 8 to 10 cases. The NDC will issue a false statement. She will then issue a statement that it is false. And they will not say anything. They will go to the next one and issue a false statement, and then there will be a EC one to say that it is false. Then they will go to another one. I have never seen it before. in all political history that I know how a major party will consistent about 8 to 10 times make a false statement, and then they are proven false, and yet they go on to another one. But they were used, I'm sure they were doing it because they were preparing that in the end they were actually speaking to their constituency. And I think that in the same way they were saying that we win. But that's why I said that always in Ghana, most of the time, it's the government that loses. NPP made some serious mistakes, which I think that they must be very happy that they just went through with the skin of their teeth. Is that what they say it in English?
But what are those? Yes, tell us those serious mistakes.
That's what I'm going to say. When I raise my hand, one. They decided to ring fence 60 constituencies, not allow the MPs to stand. Again, this is unfortunately in democracy. It means that those constituencies, those who vote them, I mean the delegates, don't get their chop money. That to them is an offense. And here is the case, and they paid dearly for it. 31 of them lost their seats, of which 21 were ministers and deputy ministers. That was a huge blow to them. They thought that, they can get away with it. They couldn't. Number two, for other good reasons, like one, for the reform of the financial sector.
You think that contributed to the less than ideal performance?
About 4 million people were directly and not only indirectly, closely, they are indirectly means that is good, were affected. Listen, for 4 million, much effort was done during the last minute, but Charlie, even people have gone through this for 3 years, 2 to 3 years, at the last minute you say you are going to pay, and then it didn't. I think that was a very huge loss to them. There's a third one, which, of course, the opposition capitalized on some dirty ones. I mean, in some places, they go and tell the Galamsey, what happened to the Galamsey people, the Okada and other things. Any Ghanaian, whether he's doing a legal business or not legal business, and come and say that if I come to power, I will let you continue. Charlie. So, another constituency loss. Then, there was a lot of the good things, which I think that the free education and were very good, but it comes in a COVID period. When your child has a free education and he's sitting at home, Charlie, that is not going to be the exciting thing for you to go to do things about it. And that, in other words, even the good thing that they were emphasizing, there was another factor undermining it. Because if you
But the kids did their exams. They went into school and wrote their exams.
It's only the final years. From kindergarten to where? JHS. And then the university people were also sitting at home. And so, unfortunately, the impact, because elections are micro, you decide. You decide. You don't go and say that, the government has a grand policy. Because other than that, for example, the management, we'll come back later, the management of the economy under COVID has been one of the best in the world. But then, at the moment, you are talking about my family, my children.
Yeah, but Prof, is it not also the case? And I mean, beyond the launch of the NPP's manifesto, their campaign was "Don't vote for Mahama." Beyond the launch of their manifesto, their campaign was "Don't vote for Mahama." Is it not also the case that people, and this, I mean, if you go back to 2016, people remembered what the NDC wanted to do more than what the NPP wanted to do, because the NPP really only talked about Mahama would destroy free SHS, Mahama would take Ghana back, without trumpeting the things they wanted to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that, the of course, I covered that one by saying that I use the word propaganda. In other
You
words,
mean
the
the
messaging,
NDC's
and other
messaging?
things
Yeah, the
of,
messaging, yes.
of the NDC.
It means that it also means that the NDC didn't have a message going into this campaign. The message
No,
was
no, 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 no.
Just like the 2016 Twaso kind of
No,
campaign.
no, that's not true. That if you go to that extent, I won't agree with you. I mean, don't take. I think generally, the propaganda machine of NDC was better, but they had their free HS. They have the what they call it, nurses. I mean, things which really touch people. So they had a message. They had also, but except that, the development. If you know, in Ghana, it's amazing. If you do what will long run will be good for Ghana's development, it does not necessarily mean you will win elections. What people, I told people that roads is going to be a major determinant of whether people will assess NPP as having done well or not. Because if you look at Ghana's political history and the Fourth Republic, there used to be three things: water, electricity, and roads. Fortunately, all the governments have done very well together cumulatively. Electricity is not a problem today. The reach is far more than actually most developing countries. And in Ghana, about 86% or so of Ghanaians. Water, the community water and sanitation people have done extremely well, that almost every village now has a borehole. And even Shiremwasi has gotten three. So people therefore rose. And the rains came very strongly. And when it's lateral, it on the rain. And I always said that and despite their last minute attempt, still the majority of roads in Ghana where people lived as a main determinant, I personally think that was a major determinant. This last point I would like to make in that one is this. Ghana, when it comes to politics, when they call themselves the IMF and the IMF and World Bank, it has got a lot of implications. Swept the old water region, Utia Ratins, still was swept by NDC. However, the IMF, that's their World Bank, isn't it? Let me get it correct. Their
World Bank.
But the IMF is Ashanti. As many as 600,000 did not vote. In fact, the same number as all the seats that NDC got in the water region, all the votes. Which means that somehow the Ashantis felt that NPP has not taken them seriously in one way or the other. And they will not vote for NDC, so they will not vote at all.
That is
Then,
interesting.
Then comes the three swing regions. And that is quite interesting. The three swing regions are Greater Accra, that's why Mahama lost. They won, but only with 110. Obosi alone can cancel you. Then Cape Coast, Central, did not swing that much. When Central does not swing that much and Western does not swing that much, there's no way that NDC can win an election in Ghana. It's impossible because of the number games. And if the Central had swung as it did under Mahama at Tamils, NDC would have picked this election. But they didn't. And these things, whether you like it or not, is true.
Okay.
It's fascinating. So just that 600,000 statistic.
Yes.
So 600,000 of the people who swarmed out to register just a few months
they
earlier
registered.
decided
not to vote.
But that's also because you're looking at the average voter turnout of 79%. So the 20% out of it, let me just make it 80%,
Yes.
out of it in an Ashanti region where you have a registered voters of 3 million, 20% is 600,000.
I'm with you, but it's
In the
still
voter region where it's 900,000, around 800,000, 900,000. I mean, 20%, you're looking at around 180,000 not turning up to vote. So as the numbers increase, the percentage who don't show up. And Ashanti region's percentage turnout has been, well, not the best turnout in 2004, for instance, but you can say was expected based on projection.
So they would have expected about 600,000 people to not come out and vote.
Based on projections.
But what I'm saying is that if they had concentrated, and because the
Or
truth that
perhaps a campaign to
if
just
they had
let people
gotten
come
even
out and
200
vote.
of them more, the huge, in other words, the Ashanti factor is so big. But they treat Ashanti like every other.
No, but just before we go for a break, on election eve, we did the analysis of what to do to win. And in that analysis, we said that, look, for the NDC to win, the NDC had to deny the NPP getting about 1 million vote margin in the Ashanti region. They did not. I mean, in 2012, the NPP won, I think the margin was around 900,000. If they had been able to take it back to 900,000, if the NDC did well, they improved, when it comes to nominal value, the real, the number of votes. But if they had been able to, also close the gap to the 2012 margins, it would have been very, very difficult for the NPP. And we also said that, look, for you to win, you just don't have to win in your strongholds. You also have to improve in your opponent's strongholds. And that is what you saw with the NPP improving in the northern, improving in the savannah, and improving and now taking over the northeast region, for instance, which now had fallen to the NPP. And that actually changed the dynamics. Certainly, Western region, Central region not falling for the NDC affected them. If they had fallen for the NDC, we'll be talking about a rerun even before going to court to seek a rerun.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Those two regions are
Also,
critical.
those two regions.
Yeah. Oh gosh, if you've just joined us, we're talking to Professor Stephen Adeh. We've already talked about the schools
But that's
reopening.
the leisure of being an academic. You can talk about it.
Absolutely. That's what they pay the academics for. Yes, but we learn a lot. So Prof Adeh has already shared his thoughts on the schools reopening and the results, the outcome of the election. When we come back, we'll talk about Parliament, we'll talk about the economy, and we'll talk about media, the attacks on media personnel. That's all to come. Stay with us. We'll be back after these.
It's learning time!
To all moms and dads out there, the Ghana Learning Radio Reading Program is expanding and adding Ghanaian languages to the English lessons so your child can boost their learning. Your favorite primary school teachers in Asante Twi, Ekwapim Twi, Dagari, Dabani, Dangwe, Eve, Fanti, Gan, Gonja, Kasim, and Nzema will take you and your child from KG2 to B4 through 2 sessions of exciting, interactive, and easy to follow Ghanaian language radio lessons that contain stories, games, riddles, and humorous characters. Tune in to all GBC regional and affiliated radio stations near you to enjoy this new way of learning via radio while staying safe during this COVID period. Ghana Learning Radio. Learn to read, read to learn. This message is brought to you by the MOE, GES, GBC, and supported by USAID.
Repeat on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays between 4 to 5 p.m. Your office they shine.
Yes, so I tell you, say for proper and modern ceiling solutions, the answer be Interface Limited. Them get in stock acoustic ceilings where you go fit make your office fine like my own.
Or even better pass your own self.
We can better pass my own.
Shall I go Interface right now?
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274-999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
Same great bang.
Because the greatest things are born from the smallest of thoughts. Just as your seeds in a rich soil grow to become trees that bear fruits, the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, helps you sow, invest, nurture, and grow your personal and business plans by serving you with years of banking ingenuity and experience in agribusiness, corporate and commercial banking, consumer finance, e-banking, and many more through our network branches across the country. Whatever the culture, whatever the dream, we grow with you. Call us today on 0302-210-210 or visit www.agricbank.com. ADB, truly agric and more.
Hello, my name is Eric Fancini, Managing Director of Total Petroleum Ghana PLC. During this festive season, I want all drivers to adhere to this crucial road safety tip. Put the phone away when driving. The physical, visual and cognitive distractions lead to unsafe driving and increase the odds of a crash. The use of Bluetooth and hands-free devices do not lessen the level of distractions in any way. If you need to use a phone, stop and park at a safe place. According to research, talking on the phone while driving quadruples the risk of an accident. And texting makes a crash 23 times more likely. Remember, your family needs you alive, Ghana needs you alive, and Total Petroleum Ghana PLC needs you alive. On behalf of the entire management and staff of Total Petroleum Ghana PLC, we wish you safe holidays and a prosperous new year. Afisha pa!
Ghana celebrates another democratic success story of the Fourth Republic after elections 2020 and prepares for the inauguration of elected representatives and government with the following events. At 10 a.m. on 5th January 2021, His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will deliver his end-of-term State of the Nation address before the 7th Parliament of the Fourth Republic. On the stroke of midnight on 6th January 2021, the 7th Parliament would stand dissolved. There will be the selection of Speaker of Parliament and 2 Deputy Speakers, paving way for the inauguration of the 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic. On 7th January 2021, President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will take the oath of office and be sworn in as President, with Vice President-elect Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to begin their second term in office. This event will take place in the precinct of Parliament House at 10 a.m. Attendance is strictly by invitation. These landmark events to strengthen Ghana's democracy will be live on this network and other digital online platforms. Long live the Republic of Ghana.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs: your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glyco Life, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
There is nothing more precious than life. As a driver, your precious life and those of your passengers are in your hands at all times. So do not overspeed, don't drink and drive, no wrong overtaking, and if you're tired, stop and rest. Always be on the lookout for pedestrians and stop for them to cross, especially children. The National Road Safety Authority wants us all to look out for ourselves, protect each other, and arrive alive. Thank you.
Your family needs you alive. Everyone needs you alive. Arrive alive.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy.
Having an interesting conversation, Winston and I, with Professor Stephen Adey, Professor Emeritus Stephen Adey, and we're learning a lot. We're learning a lot of his views about returning to school, his views about why the results of the elections turned out the way they did, and fascinating stuff. We still have to talk to him about Parliament. What it now looks like. We also need to get his views on press freedom and the recent attacks on some media personnel. And, of course, we need to find out what he thinks the economy will look like in 2021. Quite a lot to fit into the little time we have left. Let's see how quickly we can do it all. First, let me remind you that the best temperature guns are available from Kingdom Books and Stationery. They've got precise non-contact measurements, automatic data hold and auto power off. It comes with a backlight LCD display, and you can set alarm values on it. You want to buy in bulk? Call our friends at Kingdom Books and Stationery on 050 140 1050, or you could try 0244 311 955. You can also walk into any of their shops. They are all over the country, and their head office is at Usu Akweje Junction. So, do you send or receive money to and from other African countries? Then you really need to look into UBA Africash. Okay, so every country that has UBA can help you send money to and from using UBA Africash. Okay, so wherever UBA or any of its partner agencies are present in Africa, you can use this feature. All you need is a valid ID, an international passport or national ID or driver's license or voter's ID will do, and you can send or receive your money. You want to know more? Call them. They are open 24/7 at their customer fulfillment center. The number is 0800 833 833. That's a toll-free number for Vodafone and Airtel Tigo users, or you could just call 0302 634 060. Africash, fast and secure means of transferring money across Africa. UBA, Africa's global bank. Now, thanks for all of your text messages. I know K-Fresh and the team are compiling them. We'll be sharing a few of them with you shortly, telling the world what you are thinking. Text messages on the Super Morning Show are brought to you by Glyco Critical Illness Plan, GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive. Of course, Glyco cares about you. Your claims are important to them. So they say go visit their offices or go to the website glycolife.com to lodge your claims for prompt service. Now, please pay your premiums. Use whichever mood you want, whether it's Momo on 059 144 1473 or by e-premium for microinsurance, just to safeguard your policies. Okay, now the call center team is ready to help you. Call them on 0202 222 113. Or just contact them via their digital channels. Glyco cares for your safety, so they are implementing all Ghana Health Service recommended COVID-19 protocols in all their offices. Please practice social distancing, keep safe, and trust Glyco Life to cushion you for life. So, Prof. Adey is our guest, and we've been talking about a lot of things. Before the break, when we're talking about the outcome of the results, Prof, you said that in your opinion, Jean Mensa is the best EC chair Ghana has had. I thought that was an interesting view. Do you want to tell us why?
Yes. First of all, of course, during the Fourth Republic, we haven't had many. We had a long-serving Afarijan, whom, by the way, Gimpa gave him an honorary doctorate. Mm-hmm. So he's. I think he did well in terms of longevity and other things. I think towards the end, he didn't. The way the petition was, I think there was a little bit of arrogance. If you don't want it, can go to court. I think that he's not having the type of image which I think he carved for himself for such a long period. That's why he's almost, in Ghanaian political history, he has fallen into oblivion. As for Charlotte Osei, it was quite short and ended tragically. You cannot manage an institution and end up you and your deputies fighting about corruption, accusing each other of corruption. It was quite infantile for me to have happened. The way she handled the Lego, of course, these are from a distance. from the Lego. I mean, says, if you don't, we like it. And the we mean that the workers of EC like it. How dare you say in such an important institution as the Lego, it's what we like, we do.
But she said, we saw it, we liked it,
Yes.
it makes us happy.
Yes, and that he meant her team. I mean, I couldn't believe how she would come up. And here, she was one of the, quote unquote, the luckiest people at the age of about 46 being made EC. You have about 24 years of being in a position and mess up so that you are impeached and thrown out. And of course, how she handled the only elections she managed. And here, the NPP won, which means that, I mean, generally the outcome. But to have said that, you know, she was not going to declare the results on the basis of the certified copies, but on the electronic one. And he kept the whole of the country in suspense for 3 days, only to say that the attempt has been compromised and goes back to that. To me, in terms of leadership and everything else, was the last straw that broke the camel's back.
But in the end, the results she declared were not contested.
No, what I'm saying is that should have been done and holding the whole nation in suspense for something which I and you know can be faulted. When I transmit something for you electronically and you receive it, and you are the one who tells the world, meant that if it hadn't been compromised seriously, how I don't understand. I mean, those of us who were born before computers, but that itself showed that things could have gone very messy if that had not been compromised for her to go to the basics one. But let me talk about Jean. I'm saying this because I wanted to go to Afarijan because he's one of my darling guys. At least he's my contemporary. So we tend to be better than you. If that didn't generate a laughter, then I know I'm having dead people in this room. Now, on a more serious note. So, because for me, you don't compare Jean Mensah with Charlotte Osei. I mean, they are day and night, but he has a formidable yardstick, and that is Afarijan. But in the short period, like 2 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
It is the process to this election, to me, was the most difficult. First of all, you had to go through all this process under COVID. It was, by itself, was formidable. Secondly, to have changed the electronics, the gadgets and ratings, all the harubalu and ratings, she was firm. It's a leadership quality. Firm, determined, and stuck her gun with her team. Then I think that the way they compiled the voter register, I think, the politicians will always argue here and there. I think it's the best register Ghana has ever had, and had been to have done it in that period. For me, I must confess, I thought it was foolhardy not to have accepted the national identification. I said, at least take that one. I said that if you have but the fact is that he trusted in her system, that he would be able to do this. For me, it was, I wouldn't have even attempted it. They did it successfully. Come to the elections itself. Let's take, for example, the parliamentary elections. Do you know that there has been very, very few controverted ones? People, despite all the noise.
Still more than the last election, though.
How many are there?
In the last election, there were no contested ones.
This one?
Were there any contested constituencies in the last election? There were none. So this one,
I see
even
you
if it
read
has
it.
a few,
Then
it's
I'm-
still more than the last one.
We have Sene, this one you have Sene, you have Techiman, and then we have
Hohoi, yeah.
Hohoi. And the NPP has indicated they will be going to court on Savelugu. The NDC said they're going to be challenging Zabzugu. They'll be challenging
What are,
Chakwan
they
Soyim.
doing? What are they waiting for?
Well, they said they'll be challenging it. And NPP has also indicated they'll be going to court with
I
the
see.
Asin North.
Okay.
So few
But-
cases.
Okay, but I felt that, given all the hullabaloo about, for me, I was counting on 3, but I stand to be corrected. But I think that generally, declaring, but for the fact of 2 areas, the results could have been declared within 24 hours. I mean, I don't know why actually she put herself under that because you should always give yourself the latitude. Why should you put the constraint on you? That's another thing. But the timeliness, and I believe that generally, and her comportment has been quite extraordinary. I mean, the level of provocation and maligning and insults, and he has almost have kept her cool and managed it. I think that I am personally very impressed by what he has done.
Now, I want to put to you what her critics would say and see what you think of.
Yeah,
of
I've
what
read them
her
all.
critics- yeah. So they would probably say that, yes, you're right. We've never seen Madame Jean Mensah in a 2-to-2 confrontation with anyone. But they would point to the fact that she had to declare the results twice because of an error. They will point to the fact that in Techiman South, she didn't, the EC didn't follow its own rules of posting the declaration, the signed declaration at the EC office. They will point to the disputed results, the election petition, which you counted as a negative against Dr. Farijan. She has one too. They would also point to things like the disputed constituencies that you mentioned. 3 of them in court right now. Is it 2 of them in court? Sorry. Sene West is completed. That's right. So 2 of them in court right now. That's right. 2 of them in court right now. So they would point to these things and say that these are blemishes on the record of the current EC.
Put it this way. I don't think that I wouldn't like to talk about Techiman because I think that's too hot a cake. And I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't understand the dynamics of it, so I wouldn't talk about that one. But I believe that at the end of the day, even the petition, and we must congratulate the judiciary, setting the parameters, you can't go and do a jamboree and other things, will be resolved very soon. No, I don't believe that it has been a perfect job. But in terms of leadership dynamics, I think she's done extremely well. The error in numbers, actually it was quite unfortunate, but this is one of those things that you can easily, at the top, can easily be ditched because, she will not sit down to calculate all the numbers. She will rely on that. And it is something which politically you can blow it up. And look at it. I mean, of all the gurus of the petition that Mahama has sent to Supreme Court, there are not less than 6 errors in it. But of course, he signed it because I don't think that he will have read it because some of the things will have been obvious to any reader. So I'm not saying that she's a perfect person. I think the totality, and for me, how he had handled from day one, almost like looking for error and other things, has been to me excellent. And I believe that it is, now let me mind a point. I think the NPP and the NDC is high time that they should allow the EC to be an independent body and not attempt to influence what they do. Because at the end of the day, where they win the election, and that's Atuguba is one of my stars, he says that elections are won at where? The polling station. And all this noise, they come to Accra and use media, and then, what is this young man, Sammy Jemfi, thank God of late, he doesn't insult. I mean, I've never seen a young person who has no disregard, who has no regard for age and authority and speaks as if he's the epitome of wisdom. But of late, he's speaking with a sort of decorum. And I hope that is going to be his future and not go back to the past. But then he will say something, and then, of course, the MPP will do a counter one about the Electoral Commission. I mean, that's not your business. And they are seen as if, they are always wanting to have their way with the Electoral Commission. I think that it is in the interest of everybody for going forward that the Electoral Commission will be allowed to do its professional work. They should go to their constituency. They should go and make sure that elections are not rigged there and that results are declared and all those things are done.
Right. Okay, we're going to touch on Parliament, but just before that, I'd love to hear your take on what has been the biggest story recently, at least in our media space. In just a moment. First, though, quick reminder that GCB Bank would like to inform everybody that
we should come for free money.
I wish, Prof. Their Derby Avenue branch will be opening today, and GCB Derby Avenue is located near Rawlings Park, opposite the Makola Shopping Mall in the Central Business District of Accra. Now, with the opening of this branch, the Makola branch will now operate from the premises of Derby Avenue. Okay, so if you're a customer, especially a Makola branch customer, then please you can visit their Derby Avenue branch and other GCB branches nearby. Customers may also use alternate channels like the internet, ATMs, GCB, mobile banking, and G-Money. And if you want to ask any questions about this, call 0800 422 422 or email customerservice@gcb.com.gh. The WhatsApp number is 0202 422 422. GCB wishes you a happy new year. GCB, your bank for life. Now, don't forget, COVID-19 is real and is still here. So avoid touching your face because you can get the virus on your hands from touching surfaces like doorknobs and laptops and cell phones. Also avoid touching your mouth, your nose and your eyes, or do what Prof Ade does and keep your mask on regardless. No matter where you are, keep it on. And please don't bite your fingernails to prevent the virus from getting into your body. Don't shake hands, don't hug people for now. And don't share personal items. Cover your mouth and nose when you cough and sneeze.
That's a good one.
Okay, so... oh goodness, we have just about 5 minutes to go. So I'll take very quickly your take on the attacks on members of the media.
I have three things. First of all, any attack on journalists is an attack on ourselves. Because people don't realize, it's like Bonhoeffer, a Christian leader, he says that when the Germans, the one who led the Second World War,
Hitler,
he said he first came for the people in the street, then he came for the people, then he came for the Jews, and nobody spoke. Eventually, they came for him, and there was nobody to speak for him. The journalists are the mouthpiece of the population, and I think that anything at all must be done to protect them. Number two, I can only speak this one tree because I don't know the English equivalent. I see utu ejinamoafua no to bomonifu. When you are advising the cat, also advise the stinking fish.
Exactly.
I think that not the average journalist, thank God the majority are, but there are few of them who can either, because they are bribed or they hate somebody, can viciously attack people. And I think that the system, the journalist fraternity, must find a way of dealing with them. But my last solution to this is this. I don't think that we should ever go back to the criminal libel law. However, I think that the judiciary should establish a special court of libel so that when somebody is libeled, they can have justice resolved in a matter of a fortnight. I believe that that is a perfect solution. And you know that if a journalist attacks you, you can go for resolve quickly. And I believe that this is... But finally, I said three. These are the three things I wanted to say. But I think that every effort, especially the politicians, journalists must avoid being politically aligned. Because our politicians, unfortunately, they are all behind the macho people. Isn't it? I don't think that any chief has a macho group or any... and therefore, for their own safety, even though the politicians will sometimes malign you, whether you are doing your job or not, that if it doesn't go their way, they say you are on the other side, if it doesn't go their way. But this idea of setting journalists almost like whatever NDP says is correct, whatever NDC says is correct, depending upon where they are, is what I believe is leading to, because then they direct their machos at them. So I think that journalism, of course, there will be your own persuasion. You are a liberal or you are social democrat and that things. But some blatant disregard of facts should not be part of journalism. So in a summary, I think that everybody must protect the journalists. If you don't protect them, eventually, when your case comes quite there, then you will need them. You wish that they will talk for you. Everybody will suffer if we attack journalists. Secondly, when we are advising the cat, we are advising the stinking fish. I think that the judiciary should set a special court that will resolve, including those who attack the journalists. They attack them, they arrest them, and we don't hear anything. They have seen about 5 or so attacks and other things, and nothing happens. There must be quick adjudication, and the perpetrators of those crimes are punished. And also the journalists who libel people are dealt with. And I think that we shouldn't spoil our reputation as a country of freedom of speech.
We rank higher consistently than the United States, the United Kingdom, France.
But we are getting
press
down.
freedom. But we are falling.
We
fell 3 places last year.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Prof, I think I'm going to move on to Parliament. Let's see if we can get Prof's take on Parliament. Unless you have a question about press, media freedom. No. Okay, so let's.
He's here only to add the beauty.
Yes, and he's doing a good job.
Good job at it.
And of course, the outcome in Parliament is unprecedented.
Yes.
Who do you think would make a good speaker?
First of all, I haven't given as much thought as I should, so don't hear you people will say, the other day you said this. Actually, if I were President Akufo-Addo, I would retain the current speaker.
Reverend Professor Michael Quay.
For simple reason that there's a continuity, you don't have to be. I would have kept the present speaker, at least for now, and then advise him that, about a year's time, he should voluntarily, or 2 years' time, voluntarily resign.
To buy a bit of time for the president.
I don't think that there's too much turbulence now for you now to go and bring in another person. This is what I have done straight away. But this is a case whereby I expect that NDC will nominate somebody, NPP will nominate somebody, there will be a secret ballot, and then, so that makes it very... So I would like to end here because I don't think that, but there are many candidates from Papa Usiankoma to Aban Babin. All of them can be all good speakers, and they will do, each one of them, of my 2 takes, will each one of them do a good job when they are put there, their experience, and they can do so. And even my nephew, and when you are young, I call you my nephew, so don't come and see that which sister gave birth to him. Joe Wise, has been a wonderful first
deputy speaker.
Except that if you were to appoint Joe Wise, he has to resign. Yes. And so that would mean that in the current scheme of things, 137, 137.
Oh, you can't.
We can't get a speaker.
But there would be a by-election.
No, but then the speaker has to
immediately.
You will be a minority.
Would have a minority. Yes.
Yo, what's your addiction?
So, I mean, because Sir Chairman Sabonsi himself would have liked it. But,
yes, you cannot.
But it would cause that problem.
It would cause that problem. So, that's the challenge. And even the secret voting you talk about, I mean, even though the NPP together with the independent candidate has the majority, who knows?
Yes, somebody made it.
Yes, a secret voting.
That's why there's a secret vote. So what I'm saying, this is
very interesting.
Yes,
very interesting. I mean, do you think these two parties can work together in Parliament?
Actually, to be honest with you, let's give the devil their due. They work together 80 to 85% of the time. The rest is for the gallery.
Yeah.
The walking out, for example, they know that it's useless because they know that they will lose. And
will there still be walkouts?
Yes, there will be plenty. In fact, there may be more now than even before. But parliamentarians work together for 85%. That's, of course, my statistic. I'm just using it and I haven't done any calculation because that's not my field. I'm not a political scientist. So now they will be obliged to. Because if you continue, your laws goes and always there is. Because now, if you are one person is sick, and the next speaker is going to be powerful, because he will determine to table it or not. And as in other places in Britain, when they hang Parliament, they go and take people from their hospital bed to come and raise their hand and then take them back. So now the speaker will be more powerful.
Prof, let's wrap up with the economy. Dr. Bawumia has already said that we're looking at a better year. Do you have any reason to agree?
Dr. Bawumia will kill me about that. But let me say it. Of course, after COVID 2020, whatever it is, 2021 will be better.
But COVID is not gone.
No.
But talking about 2021 being better.
I'm coming to that one. So what I'm saying, it's not a big prophecy.
But for you also as chairman of GRA, it's very important.
Of course, yes.
Chairman of GRA.
I thought that this is NDPC. I'm chairman of NDPC, not GRA. People like GRA too much.
No, I'm coming there because of the revenue. It's very important.
Oh yes.
Because you're looking at our tax revenue at 10 billion for the first quarter, which we have sent. I mean, we're expecting 10 billion, and you're looking at payment of emoluments. Interest payments at about 148% of that 10 billion, about 14 billion. If you look at this, and with COVID still continuing,
yes, go.
With COVID still in, and we've seen news variants of it, how is the Ghanaian economy going to generate enough to take care of 1, personal emoluments, 2, interest payments, 3, statutory payment, 4, principal payment, and 5, capital expenditure?
First of all, let me say that from here I'm going to GRA. I'm expecting that we would, because I asked for 31st, they gave me, but I have to go and see the latest because some come in late. We would be between 43 and 44 billion collected this year. The government was not even strong enough. They thought that we can only collect 42 billion. So I think that the 10 billion for the first quarter, we will do, our part will do it, but that doesn't solve the problem you are talking about. The Ghanaian economy is capable of generating between 20 and 25 billion more taxes and revenue. Do you know at this moment, VAT, we collect less than 10% of the potential VAT.
Why?
It will take the whole day. But the question is that, have you gone to a shop before? They say that, do you want VAT or not? Haven't they told you before? Because you haven't put in an electronic system and other things that makes it almost impossible, so that your goods, which you go to your shop, we know it, and therefore we can estimate the VAT that should have been paid. That's one of the things we are going to tackle this year. Now rent, tax. You go to Trasaco, they pay about maybe 700 cedis a year. I asked somebody in East Legon, how much tax have you been? Do you know? 500, the official receipt. 500.
Wow.
There alone, there's gargantuan. Again, take customers. Until ICOMS came in, and in Ghana, I don't know why some people pontificate, ICOMS is going to kill Ghana. Until then, we were not getting more than 900 million a month. Since August, our average is between 1.2 billion to 1.3 billion. So so there are so much. We are looking at other pockets, which I cannot say it here because that immediately prejudices our ability. But from oil to mining and other things, I believe that Ghana now collects only 13% to 13.5% of our GDP. At our level of income, we should be collecting 20%. So of the 43 or 45 we are boasting of, it's only 2/3. And that loss is equivalent to what the government borrows, or the government go and borrow and the other things. And then comes the leakage. You know the leakage. What's the name? Say it so that it's not attributed to me. Corruption.
Say it. Corruption, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's estimated that as a country, we lose $3 billion in corruption. And has been consistent to.
There are higher estimates, actually.
Yes, but at least the World Bank has been consistent over the years. I think this is what I will expect that we would focus on to solve this problem. But unfortunately, it is the relative who was more corrupt or other things between NDC and MPP, as if corruption has a, some sort of relativity. So that you can't get them to, we must be tackling this. So I personally believe now that having given a little bit of a smack to my boss, because he's the vice president to everybody, about 2020, I believe that 2021, despite COVID, is going to be better, and the future in Ghana, I'm an optimist, is much, much more better than the unemployment. That doesn't mean that we didn't talk about the economy. There was the issue of unemployment, and that things must be addressed, but we will take it at another time.
Indeed.
But the future will be better. But if you are, it should be much, much better than we are now.
Well, you certainly have a big role to play in that, especially with your colleagues at the GRA. So we are all rooting for you to get it right, so that
but
the nation
remember,
benefits.
I'm the chairman of GRA, not the Commissioner General.
Indeed.
I just hold them accountable.
Yes.
Sometimes people think that I collect the taxes. I don't.
Professor Stephen Ade, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us this morning. Now, you really need to stay with us, because the Ministry of Information, and by the way, thanks for staying with us thus far in this extended version of the Super Morning Show, but the Ministry of Information is going to have their first press briefing for the year 2021 at the Independence Square.
Wow.
And it'll be live, of course, on Joy FM. So stay tuned. Right after these messages, we ought to be able to cross over and pick up from there.
There are far too many motorcycle accidents in Ghana.